Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop it back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on
We welcome you to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on this Thursday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. Always a fun time, DRS, on this show, especially with Mark Zinno. We're going to continue to have some fun in this third and final hour. We'll have the prop perspective on this Thursday with TV Tom Vecchio. The Four Nations face off in its second day in the opener for the United States of America. Who do you play for? USA on the ice tonight as they take on Finland. TV Tom will be here for all of that. 5 games in the NBA on the final night of action before All-Star Weekend in San Francisco. We'll talk some college hoops. We'll do a little bit of everything here in this last hour, DRS, on a Thursday on TEL.
Including getting the people ready for the Eagles parade in Philadelphia tomorrow. Millions expect to hear as you watch a new version of America's team. Ratings, performance, merchandise, all into the equation, and it comes up now. The Eagles, the favorite team in the National Football League and the United States. How about that?
The favored or favorite? I think those are very different.
And now it's going to be the Gulf of Philadelphia, I hear. That's going to be renamed today because everybody loves the Eagles. How about that?
Del Water Gap, or are we going all the way down?
Beautiful. All the way up. The Hudson, you name it, everything. It's Philadelphia, coming up roses.
I like that. Expecting at least a million people in the city of brotherly love. On the day of love, Valentine's Day, a Friday to celebrate the second Lombardi Trophy in franchise history. Donnie is a lucky man, doesn't even have to get the wife a gift because Jalen Hurts delivered on Sunday night.
That was the gift. So good. It goes like when you sit down with your daughter and your wife and watch the Super Bowl and understand like we don't even need presents anymore for the rest of our life because we're getting all the presents we need right now. It's a great life. It really is.
Yeah, it's really good. Can't wait till they unbox that replica Lombardi Trophy to see the final present they will ever
what I got you, honey.
receive. I'm telling you right now, you can see the one over Donnie's left shoulder from Super Bowl 52, the first ever Super Bowl championship in Eagles franchise history. The Super Bowl parade is tomorrow. We are going to conduct our own Super Bowl parade probably March 15th or so would be my guess when that replica trophy gets to the right side household. I really want to do that. I think we can maybe expense. We probably can't expense anything, but we'll try to get you some confetti, and we'll just launch it off.
Again, sitting in the Cadillac, opening up the roof there, me sitting on top of it, have the wife drive around the neighborhood real slow with the 2 Lombardis, and me waving to everybody. Like, we can get somebody out here from the Sports Grid Network to come shoot that parade by myself. Come on now. Can you see it going around the neighborhood? Like, who's coming up the street? I don't know. Some guy sitting on his roof with 2 Lombardi trophies.
For sure.
Now, that would be a good time.
That
would be a good time.
Do your neighbors know you well enough to, like, have an understanding of what they would be witnessing? Or do you think they would be like, who is this weirdo on a convertible that he doesn't own with replica trophies driving around?
Yeah, they'd be like, why is the guy who walks the dogs now sitting on top of a car? Like, that's probably what they would say at this point right now. Like, I don't understand what's going around. But they would understand when they see the 2 Lombardis, we might get some people lining up the spaces, on the street.
DRS, in South Jersey, because of its proximity to regional Philadelphia, are most people Eagles fans? Like on your street, in your block, in your neighborhood?
Yeah. When I went out for halftime to walk the dogs, it was a party up and down the street where you might have thought the game was over, which for all intents and purposes, it was. Yeah, it was lit on my street at halftime.
I really I think we need to do this parade because maybe people come outside and like wave back to you and like say hi and make banners. Like that would be a really good time.
Keeping the horn. Right. Making sure everybody's out there, of course. Sure. Yeah.
For sure. Well, and then you can smoke a cigar. You can teach everybody how to properly smoke a cigar with a 2-handed technique.
True.
Just to make, we don't want to see, can we see the display right? No? Maybe later.
No.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
I'll try to get you to that at another time. DRS, Lombardi Trophy number 2 for Philadelphia in franchise history, number 2 in the last 8 years. The dynasty era for Kansas City, in this rendition, in the hunt for 3 consecutive Super Bowl championships, has come to a close. But they still have won 3 of the previous 6 Super Bowls. That's half. What are they going to do the next 3, 5 years? That was the question we wanted to hear from all of you out there in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, how many Super Bowls will the Kansas City Chiefs win in the next 3 seasons? 0, 1, 2, 3. Those were your 4 betting or voting options, I should say, in our Fade the Public poll. Most of the public, DRS, 0 or 1. But more of the public selecting at least 1 Lombardi Trophy for Kansas City than that of missing out entirely in the next 3 years around the National Football League. Donnie, are you fading the public?
It's close, but based on what the voting results came in, 47.9%, that's where I went. So technically, I'm not fading the public here because I think the Kansas City Chiefs over the next 3 years will win 1. Why would you say that? Well, what did they do over the past 3 years? They won 2 of them here. And also, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are coming back next year. When you do end up in the Super Bowl and win it, everything's fine. You go into the next season. Maybe you try to improve yourself in some areas, but you come back relatively as is. This is a team that got beat this year, and similarly to the way they got beat against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes. So if you tell me right now they're going to allocate their resources, look, Rashee Rice will come back next year. Hollywood Brown's going to be back. Obviously, Worthy was a good young wide receiver as a rookie. They're fine there. They might add a running back. But the most important thing is here, that offensive line. Tooney's got to go back to guard. You got to find a left tackle and maybe even improve your right tackle. They understand that is a point of need. And if they do that and stay healthy or somewhat healthy, because nobody's always 100% healthy, why can't they be right back in the Super Bowl next year? Because when you do lose, it stings a lot more, obviously, than winning it, and you get fat and happy in the offseason. I expect them to win at least 1 more over the next 3 years as long as Patrick Mahomes is in his prime.
Yep, I say 1 as well. And I don't think that is overly optimistic for a team that has won half of the previous 6 and has played in the AFC Championship game all 7 years. Mahomes has been the starter in Kansas City. I bring up that point, DRS, because they are going to give themselves the opportunity. They have won 5 of those 7 AFC Championship games as well. They are not the reigning Super Bowl champs entering this year for the first time since the 2022 beginning of the NFL season. but they will be the reigning AFC champs once again. And when we look at the odds, right, Philadelphia is the favorite at 6-1, a $0.50 in front of both the Chiefs and the Ravens at plus 650, with the Bills only backed by $1. We are still going to have the same conversation, I believe, throughout every stage of next NFL season. The only team with a pedigree in the AFC in the last half-decade plus is Kansas City.
Of course. And also the changing of the guard, meaning like players turn over. Mahomes is going to come back. That's the key linchpin. You know who else is? Steve Spagnuolo is your defensive coordinator. Oh, he's going to be back. How about Andy Reid? Oh, he's going to be back as well. You look at teams that we talk about like Detroit, who haven't been to the Super Bowl, but lose their biggest cog in an offensive coordinator, and the Philadelphia Eagles. They were great on offense this year. Kellen Moore is gone. Does that mean they're going to be great next year? We don't know. Last time they lost their offensive coordinator coming off of the Super Bowl run, didn't look so hot. So Kansas City is going to return intact. That should be good for them.
More on the early line. That's up next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So Donnie Rightside has a busy Thursday afternoon. He is going to join the Pro Football Today gang for a final wrap-up of the 2024 NFL season after Super Bowl 59. Because DRS is working double duty on this Thursday, and he's got to be so excited for the parade in Philadelphia on Friday, Donnie won't be here tomorrow on TEL. We will miss him dearly entering the weekend. But this weekend is a big one in sports once again. It's All-Star Weekend around the NBA. Today is the final day of action. 5 games around the association. We'll preview, break down, and give some picks for a little bit later on. But then tomorrow begins All-Star Weekend. So now we need Donnie's pick 6 for All-Star Weekend because DRS, even if you're not going to be here tomorrow, we still need your thoughts on what we're going to see in San Francisco over the coming days.
Exactly. Like it's it's All-Star Weekend. It's not All-Star Game Day, right? You got Friday night, you got Saturday night, you got Sunday night, you got a whole week to digest that. And also coming off of typically back in the day, like if this was the same weekend, you'd have the NFL Pro Bowl, but they do the Pro Bowl games before that now. So it does feel like it's college basketball Saturday, but also mixed in with NBA all weekend long, because what else you doing with your time this weekend? I know it's Valentine's Day. That's Friday night, man. Come on, get that out of the way. Saturday, Sunday, big dealings around here.
Yeah, absolutely so. So you get through with the love, and then you look through at some love for the NBA All-Star Weekend. All right, Donnie, here are the pick 6 options that we will break down. And we also kind of need to explain the format of the renewed structure of All-Star Weekend and that All-Star Game. So we're going to give an All-Star Game winner. Now there are 4 teams, right? We'll talk about that in just a moment. All-Star Game MVP, who wins the dunk contest, who wins the three-point contest, which team wins the skills competition, and who wins the Rising Stars games earlier in the weekend as well. All-Star Game format, DRS, different this time around. 4 teams that play games 1st to 40. In the semifinals, it will be Charles Barkley's Global Stars, Chuck's Global Stars, versus Kenny Smith's Young Stars, Shaquille O'Neal's OGs versus Candace Parker's Rising Stars. The winners of those games play in the championship game on All-Star Sunday night. The semifinal games, again, 1st to 40 points. The championship tilt on All-Star Sunday night, 1st to 25. Let's start with the format, DRS. You in favor of it? You like the change? You think it incentivizes more? Or have we just lost the plot at this point?
No, we lost the plot at this point, but I'm kind of intrigued here. Like Chuck's Global Stars, does that mean that the players aren't from like the United States? Like, what is that? Is there any, am I reading into this wrong at this point?
Hold on a second.
But I do see players that like Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young, I guess they would be homegrown U.S. stars. Yeah.
Cat's from Jersey. Trae Young, I think, is from Oklahoma. Donovan Mitchell's from New York. Okay.
Because then I was saying Shaq's OGs, meaning like you got to be old, and I guess Brown and Tatum are old. Is that what it is?
Shaq's OGs. All right, we're just going to list off the names real quick so we can try to find our way through this. Chuck's Global Stars. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Canadian. Okay. Nikola Jokic, Serbia. Good. Donovan Mitchell from the United States. Alperen Şengün from Turkey. Fine. Pascal Siakam. I don't exactly remember, but we can look it up. Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama from France, Trae Young from America as well. So 3 Americans with the Global Stars on this team.
Oh, I feel good about my pick already.
All right, Shaq's OGs. Jaylen Brown, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum.
Not really old.
I mean, in fairness, Brown and Tatum have been in the league for, I think, at least 7 years. So, okay. Kenny's Young Stars. Jalen Brunson, who I think is probably older than Jason Tatum.
Is that Carmelo Anthony? I see too. I mean, what are we doing here?
Cade Cunningham, fine. Anthony Edwards, good. Darius Garland, cool. Tyler Hero, check. Jaren Jackson Jr., okay. Evan Mobley and Jalen Williams.
Let me change the name of that team.
For most of that,
Let me change the name of that team. Kenny's Wax Stars. How about that? That's that.
Yeah, they're not. And then Candace Parker will take over the Rising Stars. Whoever wins the Rising Stars competition, I believe on Friday.
Yeah, it's too much math.
All right, so that's the format. Again, we're confused. You're confused. We'll try to make sense of it all.
More and more.
So let's get to the All-Star pick, DRS. We'll dive into the pick 6 here. Who do you think wins the quartet of the All-Star game, ultimately being crowned a champion in San Francisco on Sunday evening?
Yeah, like, see, the way I entered into it was with the correct mind frame. It's like it's All-Star Weekend. It's an exhibition. So I wanted to say, you know what? My favorite analyst here is Chuck. So I was picking Chuck blind because I trusted Chuck to put together the best team. And now that I see the teams here, Ben, Team Chuck is the best team here. SGA and Jokic. Now, granted, is there going to be animosity? Are they going to hold the basketball from each other? That's one thing we don't know at this point. But if it looks like it's going to go down as I have everything I need to win this thing, come on. Chuck's global stars, I should say. Absolutely love it at plus 190 now. The global, yes.
I mean,
Jim.
I don't know how you pick against that. I mean, Nikola Jokic is not a fan of NBA All-Star games, but this different format.
That is true.
Slightly different, though. You're playing first to 40. It's not going to be 240 to 220.
Yeah.
I think Jokic would buy into that. I don't think it's necessarily international or national pride, but I think you'll have Nikola Jokic be more into it. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You've got Victor Wembanyama, and you've got some of the best from America. I guess global is the entire globe. It's not international like we normally think of as foreign. You are using the globe that features the United States of America. By the way, Team Chuck in their opening game, DRS, 4.5 point favorite against Team Kenny. The over-under 74. Not to call out our producer, Joe Frieso, but I think he made a small mistake. I think all three games of the mini tournament, semifinals, and even the championship game is first to 40. Championship game, I think I said, was first to 25. I think all three games are first to 40. We'll continue with Donnie's All-Star Weekend Pick 6.
I like where this is going.
Now we're having fun on the other side of the break on TEL.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop it back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right and go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We continue with DRS's All-Star Weekend Pick 6. We'll do more of this tomorrow, of course, as we are officially in All-Star Weekend. One final day before the All-Star break in the NBA. Donnie will not be with us tomorrow. Busy day helping out the PFT gang. Wrap up the NFL season this upcoming afternoon. Again, we have broken down the All-Star game format. It is a 3-game mini tournament where all TNT and Turner Sports personalities will have a team. Chuck has his global superstars a lot of international flair, even with some Americans. Kenny has his young stars, even with some wily vets. Shaq has his OGs. We'll give him that. And Candace Parker will take on the Rising Stars, whichever team wins Friday night's Rising Stars competition. DRS, just a reminder, to start the pick six, the team that you expect to win the All-Star game, to be the champion after all three bouts is who?
Team Chuck, sight unseen. I trusted Chuck. I like his knowledge. I like the basketball team I have. And we are going to get to All-Star Game MVP, which is a perfect correlation without even knowing the correlation, Ben, coming up here. I'm hitting on all cylinders today on a Thursday.
You didn't even know. You went in barely understanding the format, and they were giving out winners. By the way, Team Chuck is a 4.5-point favorite in their semifinal matchup against Team Kenny. All three games, first to 40 points. Team Shaq is the favorite to win the All-Star game with the OGs. Guys like LeBron and Steph and Kyrie Irving at plus 125. 6.5-point favorite against the Rising Stars team, coached by Candace Parker. That seems to be like slightly unfair. You've got the Rising Stars playing in a tournament as well on Friday. And those guys then have to go play the actual NBA All-Stars? I don't know. Seems a little bit like it's working against them.
Maybe they will be Rising Stars. How about that?
Maybe they will be motivated and invested. So, DRS, you expect Team Chuck's Global Stars to be the ultimate All-Star Weekend champion at plus 190. When you look at the All-Star Game MVP, you just keep giving out correlated winners.
It's fantastic. Victor Wembanyama, 8-1 price here. I was hoping I didn't do it to myself again. Like, well, wait, pick Team Chuck, but Kenny's Young Stars has Wembanyama. Now, granted, Kenny's Young Stars not having Wembanyama is hilarious because he is the young star in the NBA. But we'll go to the global stars and Wembanyama, and also conspiracy theories line up here. It's better for the NBA to have an international superstar. Wembanyama is that guy. He is going to perform. So I'm going to take down a plus 190 and an 8-1 price here when Wemby gets me the MVP of the All-Star game.
I think it's a great look, DRS. I think Victor Wembanyama plays a big role if in Team Chuck's Global Stars they do end up the ultimate champ. How about All-Stars Saturday night? Time to wake up Mac McClung. Dunk contest, DRS. Who do you think wins it?
By the way, just a little food for thought. Back on Monday night opening night at the Super Bowl, I wasn't able to get a question in on Cooper DeJean, but my question was going to be you or Mac McClung winning head-to-head in a dunk competition. But, I mean, the guy's like a global superstar himself right now with Cooper DeJean. Couldn't get near him. So for me, it is Mac McClung. He has one mission at the All-Star game, and he's done very well with that. If you want to be relevant in the NBA where they're forced to keep you even on a G League team, you better get out there and win the dunk competition, and he's going to do it again. Mac McClung. And by the way, I went to the FanDuel Sportsbook this morning to try to find some odds there. Why don't we have any odds on the dunk competition? Are they closing us out? What is this?
Maybe they think Mac McClung is too hefty
of
automatic a favorite. His three fellow competitors, DRS, Modest Buzelis, the rookie for the Bulls, who they call Little Boozy Vert.
Never heard of him.
Steph Castle, the rookie for the Spurs.
Who's that? Never heard of that guy. Who Andre? Is that Andre 3000? Who is that? I mean, come on now. Sounds like McClung's the superstar that we all need right here in this moment.
Just run through the rest of your pick six. I can't handle this.
Do we have a B-roll McClung dunking that we can put up on the screen so we can sort of critique the genius that Mac McClung is? And by the way, the NBA, if the guy's winning your dunk competition, he should be mandatory on at least an NBA team to get some shine out there. Last 3 minutes of a game. Look, in college basketball, Ben, we see head coaches' kids get run. You don't think we would like to see Mac McClung get some run at the end of the game where they just stop at midcourt and let him dunk? Come on now. Get it together.
Now plays for the Osceola Magic, the G League affiliate of the Orlando Magic. McClung has played in one game for the Magic this year. All right, DRS, the rest of your pick six, please, quickly.
3 points, it's Norm Powell, plus 550, absolute lock, stock, and barrel, the best shooter in the competition. He wins that there. The skills, Team Cavaliers. I don't have anybody who's even on the Team Cavs. I just like the Cavs, so I hope maybe it's Donovan Mitchell and Garland show up. I don't know, but I think the Cavs is pretty good look. And the Rising Stars, come on. Jeremy Lin running the Rising Stars competition. Come on now. Lin Saturday runs wild at a plus 430 price. Woo!
Prompt perspective up next. That was fun.
slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
There's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scover and when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these ADs are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs had a 5.5-game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5-game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night, but it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All kind of new formats for All-Star Weekend and All-Star Weekend type activities, both in the NBA, as we just broke down for Donnie's All-Star Weekend around the association pick 6, and now here with the man that is the jack of all trades. To give up the prop perspective at his TV, Tom Vecchio, after the opening night of the Four Nations face-off. In lieu of the traditional NHL All-Star game, an international competition with national pride, at stake. In Vecchio last night, the opener in Montreal between Canada and Sweden. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the United States on the ice for the first time in the Four Nations against Finland on this Thursday night, and get some prop perspectives for our final 5 games before the All-Star break in the NBA on this Thursday as well. As always, Tom, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Let's kind of hop right into it. There's no wasting time. We saw a great opening game last night between Canada and Sweden. USA gets things going tonight. A little bit of basketball, like you said. Let's roll.
Let's roll right into it, Vecchio. And we start with the opener in the Four Nations face-off on Canada's home turf last night in Montreal. The Canadians had a 3-1 lead entering the third and final period, only for Team Sweden to rally to force OT. And Mitch Marner delivers the game-winning goal for Canada. Sidney Crosby, though, 3 assists in the game. The Canadians, Tom, a hefty favorite amount, around a minus 225 price. A total of 6.5 skies over. What was your reaction to the opening game of the Four Nations face-off?
First off, I said on Tuesday, Canada's great, but the issue for them is goaltending. And Jordan Binnington wasn't great last night, as he kind of hasn't been all season, because he isn't great overall. So their offense can lead the way, but at a certain point, they're going to see some defensive inefficiencies. We also saw Shea Theodore get hurt last night, didn't return. He's also out for the remainder of this tournament. So their defense is just a little bit thinner. Their goaltending isn't great to begin with. I think this only bodes well for the Cale Makar MVP future that I spoke about on Tuesday. If they're going to win, we know their offense is great. It's McDavid, it's McKinnon, it's Crosby, it's this, that. Sam Reinhart is a 50 goal scorer. He's on that first power play with Canada. But if they're going to win because of Jordan Binnington just being really average, Cale Makar is going to play a huge role, and that's only going to be elevated because they're going to be down a defender moving forward.
You take a look at that game last night, Tom. Canada was a heavy favorite to win that game. Now, they did win it, but also coming into the tournament, based on the FanDuel Sportsbook, the favorites to win it all were Canada. After that performance yesterday, you look at the odds now updated. Team USA, plus 145, Canada, plus 150, Sweden, plus 490, and Finland at a 9-1 price. Do you agree, after watching Canada yesterday, that Team USA should swing to the favorite in this tournament?
They probably should, and it comes down to goaltending. When you have Connor Hellebuyck, who's going to win the Vezina this year for goalie of the year, and he's going to be at a head-to-head basis, dollar for dollar, he's always going to be better. And even Jake Ottinger, the backup for Team USA, is going to be better than Binnington or whoever they put out there. So I will take Team USA. They obviously get things started tonight. They are a really, really heavy favorite tonight going up against Finland, so we can roll right into that.
Let's go right to it, Tom. The Americans minus 385 on the money line. A puck line favorite of now minus 1.5 with a hefty amount of juice at minus 142. And that over-under against the Finnish side is 5.5. Vecchio, we'll talk about the way to approach it when we see the United States as such a large favorite for their Four Nations opener against Finland. But when you look at these two sides, what do you think is the key matchup tonight on the ice up in Montreal?
Oh, I mean, it really comes down to what we're going to see from Finland on offense. And, I was here on Tuesday, spoke about Team USA and the puck line. That line has moved in our favor if you guys took that. It really comes down to what we see from Finland on offense, because I do not think their defense will be able to keep up with Team USA offense. And when it comes to the offense, I actually think it's really hard to break down because there's just too many good goal scorers. We don't know who's going to be doing the scoring. So I actually have more interest when it comes to Finland player props, Finland shot props, because if they can't push back on offense, Team USA will legitimately win this game 5-1, 6-1 at a certain point.
If we are looking at these games too, Tom, because outside knowledge, right, because it is a round-robin tournament, is there an advantage where, let's just say, two teams tie? Is there anything where you have the goal-scoring differential where, hey, it's great to win 2-1, but if we can win 6 or 7-1, that'll really improve our standing?
Yeah, it will improve the standings. Obviously, this is using a different scoring format. So Canada last night didn't get 3 points. They only got 2 because they didn't win in regulation. It'll come down to that final game of who has more points. So therefore, they're the home team, which gives them the preferred line change. But it's not like we're playing a best of series. So it is just the one final game. So it's very minor when it's all said and done. But having home line change is good. You have a shorter change. So I would say running up the score may be a good thing for some of these teams.
So we looked at those very hefty odds in favor of the U.S. tonight in their Four Nations face-off first matchup against Finland. Vecchio, let's remind people, if they weren't here earlier in the week to get those bets in, how you would approach the Americans as such a hefty favorite tonight against Team Finland.
Yeah, the puck line has moved. It was minus 118. It's up to minus 142 now, or minus 115. I wouldn't take that. I would simply just play the over at minus 128. That's kind of what it implies. As I said, I think Team USA should be winning this game by multiple goals. They're going to put up plenty of points. Just the Finland defense is not good. UC Saros and that has not been good again. As I mentioned on Tuesday, they lost Myra Heiskanen. They lost Rasmus Ristolainen on the blue line. They have backup players in there who have played fewer than 20 games this year. It's all about Team USA. As a goal scorer tonight, I don't know who's going to score. If Austin Matthews doesn't score tonight because Jack Eichel and Jack Hughes and Kyle Connor do all the scoring, I'm not going to be surprised. I think Team USA picking one goal scorer is super difficult.
Yeah, it seems going to be a fun tournament to play it out. And if you're going to ask me, Tom, whether or not I had the All-Star game or a competition like this, I'll take this competition all day long. I think it's going to be very good to watch it play out. Maybe something the NHL can do in the next couple of years as well. But also, the All-Star game this weekend in the NBA. All-Star weekend for that. I know you got some action there. And also, I'm looking at a name right here that I can back you all the way up, Tom. Tell me about this guy, Norm Powell. Tell me about him.
Yeah, I was texting Joe Frieza, one of the producers, about some of the bets I like from today. This week, Norm Powell, going for some points today, ending the first half, quote unquote, of the season on a strong note. Kawhi is out tonight. We already have that news, and I'm not going to say this is like some massive usage change for Norm Powell. He's already the leading point scorer for the Clippers, but ending the first portion of the season on a high note, going into that 3-point contest, ready to go, I think is great. He's shooting nearly 50% from the field. He's shooting over 40% from the three. So I really, really like him coming away with a big game, rolling that. And I know you like him for the 3-point contest. I don't mind taking a shot on Cade Cunningham. He's plus 1,100. He's the longest, dog out there for the 3-point. But I want to buy into at least a player that has had an awesome first half of the season. I want to take that number. I'm dealing with variance here when it comes to 3-point in like a really unique circumstance. And this is what we've seen time and time again, where he may not win it, but getting past that first round at plus 1,100 is something that I kind of do like.
And despite a big win last night for the Clippers at home against the Grizzlies, Norm Powell didn't do all that much. Only one made triple tonight to have the momentum into All-Star Weekend in the three-point contest. 3+ made threes, minus 165. 4+ made threes for Donnie's guy, Norman Powell, plus 150. Vecchio, that's one of 5 games we have around the association. The Clippers in Utah tonight, LA, 9.5-point favorite. Any other looks, any other best bets for the final night of NBA action before All-Star Weekend?
I am waiting on to see what veterans are resting. This is like not a surprise to see some, veterans resting. It was Lillard last night. He was out. So I actually don't have anything as of now. If there is going to be anything else that I have, you of course find it over on my Twitter. I'll be tweeting that out along with some bets for USA Finland tonight. But seeing a player rest tonight, whether it be someone on maybe it's Şengün, we know he's a little bit banged up a couple of weeks ago, but if he rests tonight, we could be seeing some more rebounds from Thompson. So like something along those lines is what I'm going to be waiting for.
A couple of interesting spreads tonight that might indicate some rest. What do the guys need rest for? Well, we've got the All-Star break literally following today.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Donnie, I know, agrees with that. Vecchio, great stuff for the Four Nations face-off tonight. The opener for the U.S. in Montreal against Finland. By the way, the United States in Canada, they play each other on Saturday night in Montreal.
Wow.
That is going to be electric. TV, Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid with his prop perspective, the best to do it. Tom, thank you. More on the early line and some NBA handicaps next.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
A 5-game NBA slate on the final day of action before All-Star Weekend around the association. As Tom Vecchio alluded to, availability, limited rosters, that could be a component of what we see tonight. But you would almost think optimistically, DRS, the guys have a break. Even if they're playing during All-Star Weekend, It should be out there for a final regular season game that should have importance and significance. And you want to end the quote-unquote first half of the season, although we are well past the midway point of this NBA regular season. You want to end it entering All-Star Weekend on a high note. Let's make sure we see the best and brightest on one final day of NBA regular season action before the All-Star break.
I agree, but it does make it tough. Like, everybody played last night, so therefore everybody who's playing tonight did play last night. So it's one of those things in the NBA that they say, yes, we do have some time off, but at the same time, we just don't want to get our players injured before the All-Star break, as if just playing a back-to-back night does injuries. That's what the NBA kind of thinks at this point now. So it does make it a little bit more tricky, and Tom is right. Late in the day, you're probably going to see some of these lines with massive shifts. Like, wait a second, who's actually playing in this ball game? So buyer beware in the morning today for sure.
DRS, very fair to point out. Our first game tips tonight in New Orleans at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
We are 10 hours away, a little bit less than that, 9.5 hours away or so from the start of that. Everything that Donnie and I might say in the next 5 minutes could be very different in the next 9.5 hours. So buyer beware for sure. Let's start with a really good one, though, in Minneapolis, at least on paper. And yet the Thunder, 8-point road favorite in the Twin Cities against the T-Wolves. Over under 222. OKC hoping to enter the All-Star break with a 45-9 record. If that is the case, Donnie, the Thunder would be the only team around the association with fewer than 10 losses at the All-Star break.
Yes, and also understand this, like some of the angles that you want to play, if there is an advantage on back-to-backs, would be looking at this game overall and saying to yourself, all right, OKC played last night, now on the road, new city here. Minnesota did play last night and lost by 2 points, but where were they at, Ben? On their home court. No getting on a plane, staying in your own, bed at that point, coming back to the same arena, no travel. This line was as high as 8.5 at some outlets, including the FanDuel Sportsbook earlier today. You see the graphic posted at 8. It's actually at 8 now. Some other outlets, Ben, now have dropped that to 7.5. So if you were grabbing the 8.5 as the early bird special, I think it does make some sense. Again, we don't know who's playing on both sides. We're expecting the anticipated starting lineup to hold true, but also at the same time, hey, OKC can win this game and not cover, let's just say, 8 points here. I'm taking the points at home in Minnesota just because of the travel conditions were better for Minnesota, who didn't have to get on a plane.
Donnie, there was a weird number for the T-Wolves earlier this week, catching 9.5, but on the road against the Cavaliers. It almost was like an indication that Anthony Edwards wasn't playing. He did. They got off to a terrible start offensively and lost by 20-plus. Anthony Edwards, projected in the starting lineup tonight, has a points prop associated, and Minnesota probably trying to get a bad taste out of their mouth, losing on their home floor last night to the Bucks as nearly a double-digit favorite, as Milwaukee did not have Giannis nor Dame. I think this game probably stays within margin, but OKC, a really good cover team this year, of course, 31-17-4 against the spread as a favored side. Minnesota, good underdog team as well, 7-4-1 against the number. Golden State, for the first time in 3 games with Jimmy Butler in the lineup, loses on the road last night in Dallas outright as a 6.5-point favorite. Kyrie Irving goes off for 24 points. The Dubs stay on the road in the state of Texas, second leg of a back-to-back entering All-Star Weekend. 6-point spread now in favor of Houston. Total of 218.5. What do you like tonight in H-Town?
Look at the overhead line, -1.5 towards the Houston Rockets. Now you're seeing the FanDuel Sportsbook posting that 6.5, now down to 6 at this point. Most other outlets between 6.5 and 6 is also the total. 220.5, dropping now down to live at 218.5. Same numbers I'm using, or should I say same situation. OKC and Minnesota. Home team was at home last night playing a team that's traveling. You're going to get the same thing with the Warriors. Now, I understand it was the same state, but still, getting on a plane, new hotel room, new arena you're playing in. Houston at home last night, at home again. I think they can win this game by margin. I'll lay the -6 here with the Houston Rockets tonight.
Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler both have a points prop out as of right now. 19.5 for Butler, 25 in a hook for Stephen Curry. Jimmy Butler has scored at least 20 in all 3 games as a Golden State Warrior. The Rockets won last night at home only by 8 against the Suns because KD had 37. Phoenix did cover despite losing as a 9.5-point dog. Houston 18-18 against the spread this year even 50% cover percentage as the favored side. Now we stay in the Lone Star State and go to Dallas. Big victory for the Mavericks, trying to ride some momentum into the All-Star break in what has been a wild 2 weeks for the Mavs, but they're a slight home dog tonight now, DRS, getting 1.5 plus 102 on the money line against the Miami Heat.
Yeah, if you're staying again in that realm of an environment, where did Dallas play last night? Dallas was at home, picked up the victory. Now they take on the Miami Heat. -1.5 is the opening number. Current line sitting at -1.5. I'm still going to stick with the Dallas Mavericks, but it's a little bit tougher. Like, they're down a couple guys. Irving was so good last night. Is this one of those games where at the last minute they go, hey, you know what? Take the night off? Because if you're taking the Dallas Mavericks without Kyrie Irving in that lineup tonight, along with many others, I don't know if you can do that here. But just based on what we anticipate the starting lineup to be, I'll go Dallas at home once again tonight.
And it's been, again, a wild couple of weeks for the Dallas Mavericks. But the Mavs still in the 8th seed right now, 29-26 in the Western Conference standings. They are hoping to be a playoff team. That was the whole pitch for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Win now. Max Christie, a part of that deal, has played now 5 games for the Mavs, scoring at least 15 in every one. His points prop 14.5. I do like that number. DRS, the Pels at home against the Kings, 8-point home dog. They're not a very good team this year. As we have shared, the Clippers on the road in Salt Lake, 9.5-point favorite for LA against Utah. The Jazz did pull the upset against the Lakers last night. Any other plays in the 2 other games?
Yeah, no, and again, if you're still sticking with the same thing, even though it's like a hold your nose with the Pelicans, it's not a great scenario. They're getting 8 points, but again, Alvarado, McCollum, Murphy, Matkovic, and Misi are in the starting lineup tonight against a full-gas Kings team. But another one of those that really matches up too, Clippers on the road against the Jazz. The Jazz played well at home against the Lakers. It's elevation. And do we think James Harden is sitting back here tonight like, you know what, I'm going to go full gas tonight? He's already ready to pop bottles. Come on.
DRS, enjoy the money line and have a great weekend. More on the early line next.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scaver and when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs have a 5.5-game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5-game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night, but it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here, rounding out our 3 hours together on a Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. I am Ben Stevens. 5 games in the NBA tonight on the final night of regular season action. entering All-Star Weekend. That begins tomorrow night in San Francisco for the 2025 All-Star festivities around the NBA. We'll be back in action with regular season games next Wednesday. The Lakers in a matchup remaking a game, rescheduling a game that was postponed due to the devastating wildfires in early January in Los Angeles. Then everybody back in the fold around the NBA exactly 1 week from today, so a prolonged All-Star break. Big night on this Thursday in college hoops. And we'll talk about some men's games in just a moment, but we start on the women's side of things because we have some monumental matchups on this Thursday night. 2 top 10 tilts in conference play in a rivalry in Los Angeles between number 1 UCLA and number 6 USC. The game tonight in downtown LA, inside the Galen Center. That means a home game for Juju Watkins and Southern Cal. When you look at the record this year for USC, ranked 6th in the country, still great, 21-2. Their most recent loss on the road in Iowa City against the Hawkeyes on the day that Caitlin Clark's jersey was retired into the rafters forever in Iowa City. UCLA's last loss, that was last year in the Sweet 16 against LSU. UCLA is the only undefeated team at the Division I level in women's basketball. Perfect 23-0 and the unanimous number 1 team in the nation. Lauren Betts, probably one of the best bigs in college hoops, pacing the way for the Bruins at this point. I bet on UCLA now about a month ago at a 5-1 price to win the national championship, believing they would be in position to have the opportunity behind teams like South Carolina and Connecticut at that juncture. The odds not available as of this moment on the FanDuel Sportsbook, but still UCLA in a great spot in this rivalry matchup between the Bruins and the Trojans. On our graphic, 1.5-point spread in favor of SC at home. That is completely flipped. 1.5-point spread in favor of UCLA on a slight road trip in the crosstown rivalry, minus 134. Moneyline total stands at 139.5. Juju Watkins still averaging nearly 24 points per game after a record-setting freshman season for Southern Cal. She's still top 5 in the country in scoring at the D1 level. Hasn't been all that efficient as of late. 6 consecutive games, shooting 40% from the floor or worse, hoping to make that number look a lot better tonight. And they will need it to hold off UCLA and hold serve on their home floor. Kentucky, inside Rupp Arena, will host Texas, a top 10 tilt. Number 3, Texas. Number 8, Kentucky. Texas, of course, over the weekend, handed South Carolina its first loss in SEC play in a very long time, snapping a 57-game SEC win streak for Dawn Staley and her Gamecocks. So Texas playing some great basketball at this moment. Pay attention to that game. The odds not out as of yet on the FanDuel Sportsbook certainly will be up there later this afternoon. Let's talk a couple of men's games in the American. Memphis on the road in Tampa, taking on USF. 7.5-point spread in favor of Penny Hardaway and his Tigers. Top 25 Maryland heads to a difficult place to play. Lincoln, Nebraska, inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. It's basically a pick'em. Minus 115 in favor of the Huskers, a 1.5 spread in favor of Nebraska at home in Lincoln. Really good one out in the WCC. We've seen some great Thursday night games in the West Coast Conference. Gonzaga at home in Spokane, hefty favorite, 14.5-point spread. That number on the move, 13.5 as the Zags host San Francisco. Don's playing some great basketball at this moment. Winners of 4 straight, including a victory against St. Mary's. I think San Francisco can keep this game within the number. Not sure they pull off the outright upset against Mark Few's Bulldogs, but a 14.5-point spread feels a little bit lofty. And how about some CAA action? UNC Wilmington at home, 6.5-point spread against Charleston. Big matchup in this one, of course, on this Thursday night as we find you those rankings in the Coastal Athletic Association. Wilmington 10-2, Charleston 9-3. Everybody look it up at Towson. an 11-1 start for the Tigers this year. The early line returns tomorrow on a Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time here on the Grid.